Hello. So, for those who may be recently joining, welcome to CRX 2023. I'm David Youd, and I think we'd all like our next presenter to introduce himself.
Hi, it's Robin. Thanks for inviting me, David.
And thank you for joining. It just wouldn't have been the same if you'd not, without the hi, it's Robin. So, thanks for that. And it was really good to finally get to meet you in person after communicating online for so long at VCF Midwest. That was the first time I'd been there. I know you've been going for years and years. And while it's not a Commodore event, I've never seen so many Commodore people in one place before. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm really glad you were able to make it to the show. It was great meeting you in person. There's actually a reason there's so many Commodore people there. Do you want a brief history lesson on it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, VCF Midwest has a direct connection with a Chicago area Commodore users group, their annual show, and I attended it every year going way back to 1997, and that was called the SRAP, or Southwest Regional Association of Programmers, southwest of Chicago. And they finally quit putting on annual shows in 2006. Then my friend Jason Compton started his own show, same time, same place, and called it the Emergency Chicagoland Commodore Convention, ECCC.
Emergency.
For short. Yeah. And the emergency was that the previous show canceled suddenly, and us nerds had been very used to heading for a big Commodore show in Chicago every year. There wasn't going to be one. And Jason solved that by renting the hotel himself. Then the VCF Midwest guys started sharing our venue with us in 2010. And then as the years have gone by, they've taken over running more and more of the whole show. Like now they run the whole show. But a whole bunch of us Commodore people remain kind of a show within a show.
When you and I were there, we were talking about YouTubers and unfinished episodes, how everybody has, these piles of notes and incomplete research, and you got these things on the back burner you want to finish, but for whatever reason, they're just sort of languishing around. And I was saying, do you have one of those that you might be able to turn into a CRX talk? And you do, which is why you're here today.
Yeah, that's right. I've actually got like dozens of video ideas that stalled out for various reasons. I think I started describing them to you, and you really seem to like this particular idea of examining the covers of electronic art games, like here's a couple. And I think, in fact, you had just found a new to you EA game and purchased it and showed it to me there at the show. And then, I happened to point out, did you know? And that you took it from there.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if this is important or not. I think this was the EA game I got. I don't think it qualifies for the list we're talking about. So I think we looked at another one that I didn't purchase that fits in with the theme of our talk tonight.
That's it. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Dave.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So before Electronic Arts became evil, which, well, I'm not saying they are evil, but a lot of people seem to think they are now because they're such a huge corporation. They were actually a pretty cool company when they started for at least a couple reasons. Rather than get into video game consoles when they formed in the early 80s, they embraced home computers, and they especially got into the brand new Commodore 64. And they really gave full credit to their developers to the point of promoting them like rock stars with their name and pictures in and on the packaging. And actually the packaging, I think it wasn't an accident that they imitated the record gatefold. And if you open one up, this is just kind of random, but the authors, and there's a whole page, a whole section there about the developers of the game. So this contrasts with how Atari, for example, treated their programmers, giving them no credit, giving them a flat salary. This was the idea, you guys are rock stars, and these are artistic endeavors. These aren't just games. They aren't just a commodity. This is electronic arts. There's actually a neat advertisement. Electronic Arts comes to the Commodore, and it was a big 2-page spread. And this was to launch their first 5 games: Hard Hat Mack, Archon, M.U.L.E, Murder on the Zindenhof. How do you say that?
I can't pronounce it either. I should have looked that up before we talked. I knew we would run into that.
There's actually a note up at the top of that ad that says, "Make note of that name, Electronic Arts. It may well set the standard for sophisticated entertainment software in the 80s. And I think that actually did turn true. Electronic Arts was definitely one of my favorite developers during that whole Commodore 64 era.
Mine as well. Epic's following closely behind, but yeah.
Yeah, and actually just to name some of those games: Archon, M.U.L.E, Racing Destruction Set, Mail Order Monsters, all by Electronic Arts. They were all hugely popular with me and my friends, especially because they all had competitive multiplayer modes. We actually just loved to play those games against each other. And of course, the Bard's Tale series was amazing at the time.
I still have my graph paper maps from that.
Yes.
That took a lot of time.
Yeah. I think I played that when I lived in Australia in 1987. It was actually before I made many friends there. My family moved there just for 1 year from Canada to Australia, and it was playing Bard's Tale that was a really amazing experience for me while I just stuck at home. Yeah. When you load an Electronic Arts game on the C64, there's a very iconic loading screen. That was also the source of many arguments with my friends, and maybe some of you had the same argument in the school ground or whatever. Did it say ECA, maybe Electronic Computer Arts? Or was it EOA for, I don't know, EOA? Or is it just EA with a circle in the middle? Was the globe representing the Earth? Like, was it a sphere? Supposedly all 3 are just geometric shapes. In 2 dimensions, a square, circle, triangle, or in 3 dimensions, cube, sphere, or pyramid? Or what's that thing that looks like a pyramid but isn't?
Yeah, the tetrahedron. So I was reading a book recently on a flight. I think it was back from VCF Miss West. I don't know. I've been doing a lot of business travel, but it was called Amnesia Remembered. And it's about this game right here, this text adventure, written in Forth, by the way. And the author was reverse engineering it all just to see how it all worked. But a good book. But he was talking about the EA logo. And apparently when they filed for their trademark, they specified it as a tetrahedron. So I have found that online just to confirm that that's the case. The poster that you see here, this is the We See Farther poster. This is an early EA marketing campaign. You can see the tetrahedron there again. Also on that flight, I was reading this Retro Tea Breaks book. Richard Garriott, the progenitor of the Ultima games, as you well know, was talking about the cube, the sphere, and the tetrahedron because he wasn't getting along with Electronic Arts at the time. And so he wrote in his Ultima 7 game, he said the sphere, the cube, and the tetrahedron were chosen to be in Ultima 7 as the falsehood, hatred, and cowardice, the 3 anti-principles in Ultima, but they also happen to be the 3 main shapes of the Electronic Arts logo, which I liked. That's pretty funny. My friend James Brooks worked for EA for years and years. I'm not sure if he's still there, but in the mid-90s, he got me foam versions of these. So I have this foam block. This is the foam circle, the foam ball. And this is decidedly not a tetrahedron. So that's a pyramid. Maybe it was just easier to cut foam that way. But it's fun to have the actual loading logo in foam.
Yes. So a pyramid has 5 sides and a tetrahedron has 4 sides total.
Yep,
including the base.
I got a squishy die one right here. That's a tetrahedron.
There it is.
Yeah.
So it was actually the EA Loader that got me interested in finding out the truth about the logo, and that in turn led me to learn something interesting about most Electronic Arts early games, and that is, did I already say this? That the logo's 3 symbols are actually hidden in the cover artwork. So somewhere on this cover is the EA logo, somewhere on this cover. And, well, David?
Yeah, it's we've been burying the lead for a long time, but that logo has been hidden in a lot of games. It's in every single one of these, and it's in every single one of these as well. I have an embarrassment of boxes over here, but we're going to be showing that here pretty soon. It's in a lot of the box artwork. They're hidden in there. What's crazy is this was a decade-long thing that they were doing. This Where's Waldo game that most of us didn't even know we were supposed to be playing. So, and people who are watching who have Electronic Arts boxes in their garage or behind them on the shelf, they are hidden there waiting to be found.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing that I don't think I knew about this. So I just want to show these. Last summer, a viewer, Doug Ham, happened to be here in my hometown, and we met up, and he had actually made these nice little coasters here of EA art. Now, not all of these contain the logo, but a majority do. And I just want to say thanks to Doug for these cool little coasters.
Those are way too nice to put a coffee mug on.
Yes, I haven't used them for their intended purpose.
This is definitely living up to the show and tell part of your channel name. I have an EA thing I'm going to show as well. I made this about a decade ago. Here is the Load logo. If I can fit this in the screen. This has been made completely in Lego.
No way.
Now, this is pretty thin. I did violate the cardinal rule of Lego. I used some glue because otherwise it would have fallen apart 10 years ago. Yeah, we'll get some negative comments for that, but can't pass up an opportunity to show that since we're on topic. So
that's awesome.
Thanks.
I also just want to give a shout out to my friend Jim Leonard, aka Trickster, who is a founder of Moby Games, a pretty famous website database, cataloging video games, computer games. And he's also the programmer of the amazing 88 mile per hour demo for the original IBM PC. If you've never seen it, it's an incredible feat to see the 1981 CGA IBM doing amazing graphic effects and audio effects. And Jim also has a great YouTube channel called the Oldskool PC. And the reason I bring him up is he also has a lot of interest in this subject of the EA logos. And he's actually done some research that we're taking advantage of here tonight. So I just want to thank Jim. So what I did, I attempted to make a chronological list of all of Electronic Arts games from their first decade in business. And then I tracked down the cover art online for games that I didn't have a copy of, or, just looked at my own collection as well. And then went through them one by one, trying to spot the symbols on the cover of each game. Now, some of them are really obvious, and some of them are well hidden, and some of them seem to be a big stretch. That is, they're probably just not there, but I want them to be. The reason I bring that up is that some sources say that the symbols were hidden in the first 37 games or something like that, but that doesn't seem to be true. But maybe I'm missing some qualification or something like that. And also, even coming up with a list of all Electronic Arts games is difficult because they also acted as a distributor. So many games that might be listed as published by EA in a database were actually only distributed by them, and they had no influence on the cover art.
Yeah, I have an example of that here. Like this one. So you see the sticker distributed by Electronic Arts on there?
Yes.
Yeah, for the golden oldies.
Yeah, and here's another example. This is Dan Dare. Actually, a bit of trivia. When Electronic Arts was just getting started, they actually were briefly called Amazing Software. And I'm pointing at that because this release from 1987, I think, says Amazing Software, but it's published or at least distributed by Electronic Arts. It says Amazing Software, and what they've done here is taken some of the best games from the UK. This is Dan Dare, developed in the UK, and done a North American release of that under this Amazing Software label, which kind of resurrected their original name. And the point is here that, the symbols are probably not going to be hidden in any of these sort of games, since the Electronic Arts studio had no involvement in the artwork. It was done over probably in England. Okay, so enough of all that. What a huge preamble. Let's start our treasure hunt. Or what were you saying? Where's Waldo?
Well, yeah, where's Waldo? Before we start, though, I do want to say that I don't know if anybody out there is listening to the Eaten by a Group podcast, the where they've gone through all the original Infocom games. They have this marvelous idea of the spoiler fence, and it means they'll talk about the game up to a certain point without giving too much away. We are now at that spoiler fence. Beyond this, we're going to show exactly where these hidden icons, the symbols, are in the boxes. So if you want to find them on your own, pause the stream now. So last warning.
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. Game number 1. And now these are, like you said, in chronological order, but not necessarily Commodore release order, because some of these came out on, say, Apple first or something like that, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So Hard Hat Mack.
So yeah, Hard Hat Mack. I actually had this. I have this one on cassette, strangely. This was the UK release of it. But the symbols are visible even on here, but they're tiny. So take a second. Do you see them? And go ahead.
There we go.
Right there on the girder. So some of them are really obvious. Just a square, circle, triangle, or they're 3D versions. And some are harder to find. Go ahead.
Okay. This is the inside cover of Hard Hat Mack. Obviously not your tape version, but the album cover version. So
that's right.
And in this one, we can see coming out of the lunchbox are the shapes realized in 3D. You got the tetrahedron up there.
Yeah. Along with somebody's lunch.
Yeah, I don't know how they shot that photo, but it worked. So, next game.
Yeah, M.U.L.E, this one was a real surprise. It's a bit less obvious, but lots of great years playing M.U.L.E. But the thing is, I think I just had a pirated copy of this one, so never did see the lovely cover art. But go ahead.
And they're there.
Yeah. Little 3D objects that are kind of... I guess they're attached, like that square. Does it look like it's attached to the M.U.L.E there?
Yeah.
Rear end?
Everybody walks away from art seeing something different, but no, to me it's floating.
They're all floating, okay. So there they are, floating off in the sky in the distance, I guess.
Next up is Worms. This one's a little bit easier, I think. Maybe not with the screens people are looking at, though.
Yeah, I think the cube is a bit easier, and the other objects are a little bit darker and a little more obscured.
There's the reveal.
There they are, hidden in the background. Again, these are the 3D versions rather than the 2D objects.
So on the inside cover, that's Maynard reclining in his probably house. They're actually on this one as well. You can see them revealed there. It's a little bit dark, but what they're showing is up on the shelf, you got one of these. On the ground, you got one of these. And behind the chair, you have one of these. So anybody
Rubik's
has this
Cube.
game, I should have probably brightened up the picture a little bit, but this is an uncommon one.
Yeah, this is a title I just totally wasn't familiar with, Word Flyer, and this Childware did a few kind of semi-educational games for EA, but this has a different way of hiding the logo. There it is. The kid riding the eagle is wearing an ECA or EOA t-shirt.
Next up is Last Gladiator.
Yeah, and this one was a surprise. Took me a while to notice this one because it's so tiny. And this is another game I'd never played. Probably just, is this an Apple or Atari game? I meant to.
Well, I played this one quite a bit back in the day. Yeah, it's a direct soft sprite port from Apple to Commodore.
Oh, okay. You're familiar with it.
Oh yeah, this is a fun one. At least I think it's fun. But it's another one that's tiny, so we got an enlargement here.
Yeah. And there it is near what are those, doorways? What do you call those? I can't remember the name for those things.
Arches, yeah. Standing stones.
Yeah. And this one, once you see it, it's pretty obvious. They're below the moon.
Yep.
Tiny little stars, but they're actually the three symbols.
Debug. I had looked at this one and decided it wasn't here, and then your note said it was.
Yeah, it's all coming out of that explosion down just to the left of the debug name.
Yep.
And there they are jumping out.
Yeah, there was so much detail in the picture, it got me focused on the wrong part, so that was well hidden.
Yeah.
Now the one we can't pronounce.
Yeah, Zindernoof.
I'm not going to try. This one's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I always say things wrong in my videos, so.
I didn't even bother to enlarge that one, so.
That's right, yeah, it's just so obvious up there near the nose.
And I'm surprised because I had many of these boxes as a kid. I don't remember having ever seen these because if I saw it, I think I would have caught on to the pattern, but this was a complete surprise to me when you mentioned that this existed at VCF Midwest.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't expect to find this kind of thing, I guess we just don't look.
Yeah. We stepped into a parallel universe where the only difference is that these symbols are in the EA boxes and the Choco Taco is gone. That's the other difference. So this is a tough one right here.
Yes, and it might be kind of a surprise that Electronic Arts didn't just make games. They got into productivity software, and this was kind of an odd one, the remarkably simple word processor, cut and paste. And actually, the cut and paste feature wasn't very common, believe it or not, on word processors in 1983. Anyway, you'll find the symbol down there on the typewriter. What's that? The bar, the platen, and that roller bar that holds the paper in place.
Yeah, it's meant to look like a 3-hole punch, and so it blends in very nicely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one that Maynard worked on after Worms. He kept doing helping out with fourth projects in EA after that program, after that title launch. This is a good one.
Yeah, awesome game. Love the artwork here. And this game just captured my imagination, running around these 3D mazes with zombies, and it was just the best.
Well, there were so few collaborative games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, not competitive, but collaborative, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's the symbols, just guy climbing up the ladder there, and just to the left of his head. Engraved in stone. Music construction set. This might be the tiniest example of the symbols.
Yep, I'll just zoom it now.
There it is, down the bottom right of the sheet music. Archon 2 Adept. A bit of a disappointment of a game. Did you like this as much as the original?
So I haven't given it a fair chance. Somebody at VCF Midwest was giving me lessons on it because I never really got into it, and unfortunately we got interrupted. I need to give it a fair try.
Yeah. Yeah, so the symbols are actually located on the wizard, the white wizard's robe there. And there's quite a few symbols, but there is just one unique for the circle, square, and triangle, just one instance of each. Skyfox. And there they are colored as well. Yes, right at the edge of the cockpit. Financial Cookbook, another one of these odd titles that I didn't even know existed. probably written in Forth again, David?
Yeah, also written in Forth, yeah.
And there they are, little 3D versions of the symbols down in the bottom right corner.
This one's an easy one.
Yeah, this one is pretty easy. This game just seemed amazing to me when it came out, and yeah, there they are on the guy's robe, kind of in 3. There's lots of them, circles, squares, and triangles. And yeah, this game seemed amazing to me. The actual game itself, I just didn't find it as fun as I expected. It was the idea of it that was amazing.
Yeah, EA had a lot of construction set games. This was a good one.
Yeah.
Speaking of which.
Yeah, speaking of which, so a little pun. Did you ever think about how Racing Destruction Set is obviously a pun on all their construction set titles? And there it is, right on that car's bumper. The 3 symbols, another great game. I never played with this Movie Maker back in the day.
I did, but I made really lousy stuff.
I assume you don't have any of it saved, eh?
No,
Do you
thank
still
goodness.
have? No. And there they are under that guy. What's he doing anyway? Some sort of dance.
Okay, so I did not find them on this one. I thought it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
so yeah, they are kind of hard to spot, but they're just in the 3 corners. The not the bottom right, but the other 3 tiny square, circle, and triangles in each corner of the squares in the 3 corners. I guess that's how to say it.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't try to hold up the box in front of the camera to show this to people. That would not have worked. The cool thing about this game is that Mangar is, the bad guy, and he has this chamber at the top of his tower. In order to get there, you have to find a silver circle, a silver square, and a silver triangle in the game. So there's an in-game reference as well.
Lords of Conquest. I happen to have this one. I think this is when you missed when you were doing your own run on it, eh?
Yep.
And there it is on that horse's, what do you call it, like a belt or something around the horse's neck. I don't want to call it a belt, but like his tie, a horse tie.
Horse tie, there we go. The unscriptedness is showing through.
Yes.
This one I found, so I was proud of myself on this one, because this one's a little bit tricky.
Yeah, it is. And Ultimate Wizard is a neat game. Like, this is one that some of my friends, we were mentioning Jason Compton earlier, he loves this game, and I wasn't even aware it existed. And then when I saw it, I thought, this is just a ripoff of Jumpman Jr. or Jumpman, one of my favorite games of all time. But I was aware that this arguably better Jumpman existed all this time, with where it's Jumpman, but it's got all these spells and all these other gameplay elements. So it's a game I need to put a bit more time into. But anyway, they are hidden around the border. There they are. And it looks kind of random, but there is only one instance of each of those 3 symbols there in the border. There's all kinds of other moons and other kind of
very intentional
arcane symbols. Yeah. Amnesia. I remember buying this in the bargain bin at the Kmart back around 1990, and it just seemed like what an amazing game to play. And you said you've been reading a book about it.
Yeah, I'll post a link to that in the CRX forums. It's a really good book. The hardback is crazy expensive, but the Kindle is reasonably priced. So,
okay.
And this one's tying for the smallest one you were talking about earlier when you were talking about really tiny symbols. This one's pretty tiny too.
Yes. Yeah, it's just there over his shoulder. And I actually missed that one the first time I looked at this cover. And it was only on a second pass that I found it up on the, what do you call that? The matinee, the movie.
The marquee, probably.
The marquee, thank you. The matinee marquee, yeah. Robot Rascals, a really neat hybrid board game or card game and computer game. And there they are on the robot. This one seemed a bit more iffy to me, but I'm pretty convinced of it now, especially that triangle under the armpit there is very deliberate. And yeah, the square, the circle on the chin there.
And of course, the tattoo heart on the arm as well.
Yes. Make your own murder party. And this is the first, I think, of a bit of a trend where they stick the symbols on a postmark or other kind of symbol, or what do you call it? Postmark?
Cancellation mark? Yeah, postmark. Sorry, yeah.
Square, circle, and triangle. And then the Destiny Knight actually has 2 instances of this. David found in the middle, you've got your square overlapping triangles forming, what do you call that? Is it a Star of David?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And a circle. But then they also did the corner symbols again, like in Bard's Tale 1. Legacy of the Ancients. Super great game. Did you play this one, David?
Oh, well, I did, but never very far. So maybe I need to revisit.
Yeah. This was like, sometimes I like this better than any of the other RPGs. It's just amazing 3D world, and it had a really cool 3D section, and then it had an overworld area that was more Ultima-like. Anyway, the symbols are neatly hidden into the art in a way that's a bit more, well, I want to say advanced, but more adept than some of the others. Skyfox 2, and there they are around on the fuselage. This is really stretching my vocabulary, David. I don't know many words besides like A and hoser and donut and whatever else. So but yeah, there they are. Earl Weaver Baseball, and it's up there.
I think this one counts.
Yeah, it's a bit cheap, but there they are up there in that, was that medallion or something?
Sure, another fancy word. This one I missed. I declared this one not to have the symbols, but I showed it to my wife and she found them immediately. So,
oh, good.
Yeah, on that treasure chest lid right there. I know it's probably too small to see on the screen, but that's why we're enlarging it.
Yeah, nice job. I want to thank David for, he made up all these slides and did an amazing job with it. I just want to not forget to thank him for all this work, especially those zooms and all that. That's great work.
My work skills largely consist of PowerPoint, unfortunately. So, now this one is definitely on my bucket list because it is incredibly unfair, and it's designed to be unfair and hard. So, someday I'm going to try to tackle Deathlord.
Yeah, it's actually one that, I do own the original, and pretty amazing art actually on it.
Here's the reveal.
The reveal.
Yeah, they're just on the inside of the cape. Hadn't heard of this one.
Mars Saga.
Saga.
Mars Saga. Yes, sorry. Sega. Nope. Saga.
Saga.
And there they... Saga, yeah. And there they are on the, on the stock of the gun? What do you call that part? Just on the gun.
On the gun.
Bard's Tale 3.
Yeah, same kind of thing.
Yeah, you got the triangle a little bit more obscured or covered up there, but there they are in the corners again. Oh, and the square's rotated. That's a diamond, David. That's not a square.
Ish. So, yeah, my game box had a sticker over the triangle, and I started looking online, and almost everybody's had a sticker over the triangle. I was finally able to find one example where somebody had taken the sticker off. So,
yes,
that was extra hidden on this one.
Yeah, mine also has the sticker on the corner there. Yeah.
So, FA-18 Interceptor.
Yeah, and there it is. Right up at the front of...
This example is on the nose.
That's terrible. That F-18, fantastic game, by the way. I played that on my Amiga, and that was maybe the first game where I felt like I was really in a 3D world, free to travel around, and just, at the time, amazing.
So this next one, Modem Wars, I've heard, is it Leaf? Is that his name? Did he get this one working with modern hardware? So you don't have to use a telephone line?
Okay, I don't know if he did that with Modem Wars. He's made his own modem games like this.
Oh, maybe I'm getting confused.
That also work over TCP/IP or over UDP, actually.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, definitely check out Leaf's games. So I helped him with his, what was that racing game called? Anyway, it's like a driving game, but you can play it over the internet, multiple Commodore 64s.
That's cool.
They can be all over the world, yeah.
Well, what I do know is where the symbols are, and they are there.
On the guy's arm.
Yep. There's another one I never heard of, Fusion.
Yeah, so an import from Bullfrog, but interestingly, they did put the symbols on it, even though it would have been... Bullfrog is a UK development company, I believe. So it's interesting that they actually modified their art when I don't think EA published them in the UK, but anyway, here in the North American release, they add the symbols.
So this is an example, Zany Golf, of a game. Many of these games have multiple covers. Some of them have the symbols, some of them do not. So this is the one that does have the symbols, and it's pretty easy to see on the green right there.
Yes, yeah, just to the left of the burger there. Ferrari Formula One. Oh yeah, I have this one too. And this is another one of those kind of cheating games where you look for it on the main artwork, but it's actually up on this sports legend medallion. So, you know, if somebody wants to exclude these ones from the list, I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah.
Abrams battle tank, and there they are right beside the cockpit. That's a popular place to put them.
How many logos they've shot.
Yes.
This could be the tiniest one. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you may be right. So yeah, this is another one where here's my Atari ST version of Populous. And like David was just saying about the alternate art, I don't believe the symbol's anywhere on this art, but David's got the other artwork. And there it is, kind of this, I call that the flat earth variation. And yeah, that tiny flag next to that castle has the symbols on it. Keef the Thief, a boy and his lockpick. I think this is named after a boy and his dog. That radioactive movie there. Yeah, and it's on his... No, it's in the treasure pile, isn't it?
Yeah, bottom left-hand corner of the treasure pile. It is astounding how many game covers have these symbols in them. There's another game I don't know.
Yeah, Magic Fly. That's quite the name, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there it is down at the control panel near the guy. They like putting them on control panels too. Centurion, Defender of Rome. And again, was that medallion or whatever, but there they are.
Yeah, I wish I had a clearer picture on that one, but it's definitely there.
Yeah.
And we're on to our last one here.
Can it possibly be over? Black Crypt, and this game 1992, so that's about 9 years after the first releases.
Well, that's a 10-year span. Yeah, from 83 to 92 is 10 years of this game. So right there.
Yes. And there it is on
his hoof bling.
Yeah, his hoof. Yeah,
hoof bling.
Hoof bling.
Okay, these are pretty much, I think, uncontestable. But we have some that are a little bit more dubious.
When I first heard about this, I'd heard that there were 37, or the first 37 titles all had the symbols in them. So that's why I looked really hard in those titles, stretching credibility a bit, I think. Yes, definitely dubious. And when I was showing these to David, as much as I wanted to believe, David just wasn't having it for some of these. So that's fine. So we kind of settled on making this dubious section. So go ahead, David.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to outline shapes that might be triangles and circles and squares with these green shapes, so you're going to be able to tell what we're talking about. So here's the next slide. Archon.
Yeah, Archon. So this one I'm more convinced of. There is very obviously a cube and a triangle. You know, those seem to be there on purpose. Now, what's missing is a sphere, unless you count the O of the of the name of Archon. But I can get Jim said that maybe it is the concept of sphereness. And when you look at this artwork, it's very angular. Like everything is deliberately, the art style is angular. Look at the dragons, how they're rendered. What's a 20-sided die, David?
Tetrahedron.
Yes. So this seems inspired by an isohedron. And the first time I ever saw a 20-sided die in real life, I was like, whoa, it's almost like a ball. I was like amazed by it. I didn't know you could get that many sides on a die. So anyway, I agree it's dubious, but maybe that is the sphere.
Next up, this one's definitely dubious.
Yes. The funny thing is that there is a sphere right in the middle, and that's where it belongs in the correct order, right? There's a sphere in the middle. Where it gets really dubious is, yeah, are those squares on the tiles? Yes. And if you squint hard enough, the shadow of the left hand really does look like a triangle to me. Like it's darkened, even the way it rides up the wrist there. But again, okay, dubious. Skater die does have a whole bunch of little symbols in there. And if you look hard enough, yeah, you can find a little circle. You can find a little square. Circle near his skateboard. A square near his helmeted head. And triangles up in the top left corner. But I agree they don't feel as convincing as some of the others. Return to Atlantis. Again, lots of geometric shapes in the diver's mask here. So, I don't know. Yeah, there's cubes up in the upper right there. There are pyramids, but probably 5-sided, not tetrahedrons. And some sort of bubble floating to the left there of the mask. So
there is, if you enlarge it, there is writing on the building that does contain all three symbols, but I don't think that's intentional. Underneath the by the green triangle, yeah, but you have to really enlarge it. You have to have a nice scan. But I don't think it's intentional.
Oh, okay.
We'll see what people find after this video.
Yeah. And Wasteland, to me, it's super obvious that on the buildings on the right-hand side, there is a square and a triangle. There's holes in the side of the building, like they were hit by something. And again, if you squint, it really looks like a square and a triangle to me. But then the circle is the harder thing to find. David circled one possibility. Below the S in the title Wasteland, there's also a car turned on its side, and there's a tire, the dark shape of a tire there. That's also a circle. Okay, David's not having any of it. Dubious.
Dubious. So that was quite the tour. I had no idea any of those things existed. I was quite surprised by some of the covers that didn't contain them when they took the time to draw custom art and then there was no symbols in it. So,
Yeah.
but it was a fun Easter egg hunt. I'm glad I tried it all on my own first. I missed a ton of the ones that you found.
Just to look at a few others that I'm kind of surprised, just so you don't get the wrong idea. Yeah, like you were just saying, there are many Electronic Arts releases that don't have the symbols at all. So the official America's Cup sailing simulation, I looked, the sail is like a triangle or, there's a circle there, but this one really surprises me when you talk about custom art. We have mail order monsters, great game. They made this kind of like sculpture almost of a monster bursting out of a package. Again, it has the postmark here. There was lots of opportunity, but they did not take it. And I want to bring this one up, 7 Cities of Gold. This is one I was talking to Jim about. And again, this concept idea where could this be EOA, like the triangle and stuff? But David found some pretty clinching proof that no.
Yeah, that was a painting made in the 17th century. I think it's titled Arrival of Cortes in Veracruz. So it's definitely not there. But I'm happy to be surprised if some, viewer later on finds something. But yeah, I think it's just the painting.
Yeah. It's a painting that's existed for hundreds of years. At least the artist's intention certainly wasn't to encode the symbols in it.
So you do a ton of research. You present your stuff online, and then people post all kinds of stuff. Sometimes you have to re-release your Patreon videos in light of what they found. I can't wait to see what other people are going to find. I'm sure you and I have missed stuff, but this has been a fun Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, for sure. And did I mention yet this? I just want to say for Team EOA and those schoolyard arguments, for a little while, EA was putting this logo on their boxes with the second E being replaced with a blue square, the O being replaced with a red circle, and the A being replaced with the green triangle. So it just kind of says EOA, very direct mapping there. So maybe for the C64 loader, Team EOA was right after all.
Yeah, could be. I'd always said EOA, so I like your theory.
Yeah, one thing I didn't do was systematically look through EA releases from the 90s and certainly not post Y2K. So if people want to dig into this subject more, who knows? Maybe there are some neat 90s games with the symbols that nobody's noticed. By the time of Black Crypt in 1992, it seemed like they had pretty much given up on that idea, but who knows?
Okay, well, on behalf of CRX, thank you very much for joining. This was a fun discussion. It was fun looking through all these things, and I'm hoping that your viewers find more.
Yes, that'd be great. Thanks very much to my patrons, and thanks to David for inviting me and for putting all this work into organizing the slides and so on. Thanks a lot, David. It's been a lot of fun.